Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to our live stream. Um, very happy to welcome you here. Very honored to also have your voice added to our conversation on X, on YouTube, and all across social media and on the site as well. I always welcome your comments. And if you're joining for the first time, know that your comments, your questions are very much appreciated. So anytime you feel like sharing your opinion or asking questions, please type them and I'll see them here and I'll answer. And if anything contradicts your information, and sometimes it happens that you have sources and you say, hey, this is not correct, tell me. I gladly stay corrected. I do my work to stay as accurate as possible. And we're all humans. If you have anything, please make sure we all stay very well informed. Thank you for joining once again. Today it's all about, as always, actual news. And so I want to start by talking about our President Biden, because so many news outlets either continuing or restarting, rebooting their campaign to ask whether he is legitimate or whether he is still operating, he's still active, he's still the commander in chief. And I can certify that, yes, he is. And if you follow me, if you follow my updates, specifically on X, you see in real time all the news, all the status updates on everything that is made public on what the president does daily. And I want you to share it. From today on, I want you to share it. I want you to share this live stream. If you can, please share. It's not about me and my likes and follows. Listen, I have a job. It's about people knowing what actual information is. And I will cover today's White House press conference where weird questions came through. And I'll play both of them. One was about now suddenly medical records of Kamala Harris. And second, whether President Biden sort of checked out. And if you read the updates, you know that he's working very hard on our behalf. And so here's my first news. President Biden will be headlining the very first opening night of the Democratic National Convention. And so for that, you know how we connected. Probably you start following me when I started, debunking the myth about President Biden, when all the media was against him and still kind of is. So I want to put together a tribute. I want to put together a watch party where like-minded people watch his address together. We're also going to have a warm-up party. We're going to feature tributes. We're going to have guests. So if you want to join on August 19th, now the time is TBA because we have to know when exactly he speaks. So we will meet about an hour beforehand, and I will be sharing those news with you. But if you're watching on X, there is a comment right under this live stream where you can RSVP. And so what does this mean? You just leave your email so you get the link to watch. Or if you click on the link, that's what will open. By the way, it's free. There's not a fundraiser. There's no money involved. Nothing on your end. Just your time and attention and really, you watching pretty much. So please RSVP if you want to watch this. The more the merrier. I will share the details and the final video of all of us watching and, with the White House. I want President Biden to see it. Again, it's not a fundraising event. It's produced by me. There is no money involved. And so also what I want to give a chance to you to do is, if you wish to record a short, maximum 30 seconds tribute for us to feature, please upload it in that RSVP form. I will not do anything with that video, so please feature it so we can show it during the live stream. And again, all of it will be sent to the White House, to the First Lady and our President, to just honor him and show our love, support, and appreciation. So I'm going to talk about this toward the end as well, because many people will join during the live stream, but that's the first news. And I'm another announcement for the final night of DNC will be coming soon. I'm sure you will like that. We'll have something else to say, but this is just all about President Biden. It's not a fundraiser, just honoring him. Okay. So Let's talk about, I mentioned the White House press conference today. And here's the question that I really did not understand, really did not like, nor, weirdly, even though I'm the correspondent too, I can't put myself in the position to even ask this question or explain how I would be asking this question. But here we go. Here's Fox News.
Could you sort of give us an idea of how much the president's schedule has changed since the ticket changed? Because if you look at what we look at, the big event on Tuesday was a phone call. The big event today is a lunch. Tomorrow, we don't know what he's doing. Friday, he heads to Delaware. It lends itself to the appearance that he's done governing.
No, he's not done governing at all. I think that appearance would be false. It would be a misled appearance. I understand the
It's not just misleading appearance. This is bullshit. Excuse me, because I'm covering the actual news today. Now we'll be reading out everything that he has done today. Appointed judges, gave money to those who were neglected, farmers who were neglected. We're going to talk about it. It's not a fly. Jeez. Anyway, we're sweet, so here's fly. Also, dealt with 9/11 attackers, many news that are coming from the White House, from President's office. Also, mind you, Monday he was in Austin, Texas. Then he flew same day to Houston, Texas, to pay respect to the late Congresswoman. And and then yesterday he was working all day too. I'm sharing the actual updates, and then during this week, by the end of the week, he will be addressing the press. They haven't really decided what format would be. Is that a Q&A? Is he joining a press conference, or he's going to address the nation? He will be present. And then, yes, Friday night, he's going to Delaware to spend his weekend. So how are we making this up that he's MIA, we're not seeing him or whatnot? Meanwhile, we have the 78-year-old fella that we have absolutely no medical records from, who made his one appearance today that we will be dissecting and watching in pieces so we can digest it. That was absolute disgrace, nonsense, and racism on stage. That was just, I have no polite words to put that into. I'll take my time. Maybe by the time we watch the videos, I'll come up with something. But why don't we ask if that person what is he doing? Is he running, or is he crawling, or what is happening? Same as about medical records. We're going to discuss that soon as well. So no, president is working, and I want you to share updates, actual news about what he is doing, because that is the only way to show those who are clueless that no, whatever they're hearing is absolutely not true. So, now, speaking of what President Biden has been doing, Biden announced his intent to nominate 3 individuals to federal district courts and 2 individuals to the District of Columbia Superior Court. I shared the details in several updates on X, and also it will be tonight in the newsletter. So if you're subscribed to Onest Substack newsletter, it's free. You're going to get all the details there. I will not be reading out the names because they're just not as familiar. So this will be President Biden's 53rd round of nominees for federal judicial positions, bringing the number of announced federal judicial nominees to 254. The president has now announced 25 nominees to serve on the District of Columbia Superior Court. So also, President Biden has issued a statement on the Inflation Reduction Act's assistance to producers who experience discrimination. And that is what I referred to earlier. So he says, quote, "Farmers and ranchers work around the clock to put food on our tables and steward our nation's land. But for too long, many farmers and ranchers experience discrimination in farm loan programs and have not had the same access to federal services and resources and support. I promised to address the inequity when I became president. Today, that promise has become reality. My Inflation Reduction Act took a bold step to address the effects of discrimination in farming and ranching And today's action will enable more farmers and ranchers to support themselves and their families to help grow the economy and pursue their dreams. The president also met with the Agriculture Secretary, Tom Vilsack, um, to discuss implementation of the Inflation Reduction Act's discrimination financial assistance program. Today, the president announced his administration is providing financial assistance to 43,000 farmers who experienced discrimination and didn't have fair access to federal farm loan programs. So let's hear directly from Agriculture Secretary who joined today the White House press briefing. Take a look.
More than 43,000 individuals in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and American Samoa are receiving direct financial assistance in response to discrimination that they reported to have experienced at USDA farm lending programs prior to 2021. This action advances a key priority of President Biden and Vice President Harris when they laid out an executive order signed on day one to advance racial equity and to support for underserved communities through the federal government.
So President also had lunch today with our Vice President Harris. See them here enjoying burgers, which was off the record. I'm media, but I'm happy that we're in press. I'm happy that they had some time alone without the press, and they could connect. And then at the White House press briefing came like, when are we going to see them together? We just saw them this morning. Some questions, honestly, I don't even understand. Maybe they're drafted somewhere in an office, HQ in New York or Atlanta, just don't correspond with reality. So Vice President Harris was yesterday rocking the rally in Atlanta. It was packed, more than 10,000 attendees. This was the energy that would not usually resemble anywhere near July energy during the election year, but it was amazing. So I want to share a clip of her talking about debating Donald Trump. Please take a look.
So the momentum in this race is shifting. And there are signs that Donald Trump is feeling it. You may have noticed. So last week, you may have seen, he pulled out of the debate in September he had previously agreed to. So here's the thing. Here's the funny thing about that. So he won't debate, but he and his running mate sure seem to have a lot to say about me. And by the way, don't you find some of their stuff to just be plain weird? Well, Donald, I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say, say it to my face.
Say it to her face. Exactly. Show up to the debate. And Donald has a lot to say. He has been tweeting since that rally yesterday. Crazy Kamala Harris voted the worst vice president in American history. I'm not sure where he got those votes. Needed a concert to bring people into the Atlanta arena, and they started leaving 5 minutes into her speech. Nonsense. I don't need concerts of entertainers or entertainers. I just have to make America great again. Nobody was leaving. It was packed. Yes, Megan Thee Stallion performed before a song, I think a couple of songs, but it was all about Kamala Harris and about energy. No. Another prominent voice in the sort of MAGA world, Matt Walsh, said that note for Republicans, Kamala has all the big name entertainers on her side, all of them. And she hasn't even pulled out the big guns yet, like Taylor Swift. Please do not try to counter this by parading around a bunch of washed up or obscure entertainers that nobody cares about. That just makes us look sad and irrelevant. Best to bow out of the celebrity competition and argue that we should focus on policy instead. It's the only hand we have to play. It can work, but you undermine it if you make fun of Megan Thee Stallion and then 2 days later start fangirling over some third-rate celebrity endorsing Trump. We need consistent messaging on this. Well, I didn't know we would agree on something, but here we are. And so, certainly, the talk is about policies. And that is the story that Lindsey Graham has been sort of spreading today in the media world. So, take a look.
I think the polls have tightened in the battleground states. Seems like the base vote has come home for the Democratic Party. She's raising a lot of money. The names have changed, but the policies are the same. If it's a policy election, we win.
Say it to my face should be the new slogan. I absolutely agree, Jazzy Diva. Thank you. I agree. I'm on board. Okay, policies. And I reported yesterday on the fact that now Trump's campaign tries to dissociate themselves from Project 2025. So what policies are we then talking about? Because they never share, neither did Trump today at the NABJ. He didn't share what his solutions were or are or would be potentially. He talked about the border. He talked about all, stealing black jobs. He defined what black jobs are. By the way, I'm going to play the video, which is like another part of nonsense. But there are no solutions. They only talk about problems. They only do the poop throwing competition and they hope to win in it. There's that saying, you were throwing dirt at me. What you didn't know, you thought you were burying me, but you actually were planting me. I think that is the situation. But, if we talk about, let's say, now we need to guesstimate because we don't have answers to what the heck they want to do. So they start talking about Agenda 47. By the way, one of you commented with this picture. I appreciate you. Agenda 27, which is Trump's plan, and this Project 2025 was Heritage Foundation's plan, right? And similarities are huge. And if you were to read it, because it's very small and tiny, but it's about abortion, contraception, trade and tariffs, law enforcement, immigration, education, deregulation, executive power, federal workforce, all of it aligns. So whether you call it Project 2025 or doodle-doo, it's the same thing. Okay, can we just, put that in writing or at least remember it? So if not Project 2025, what is your deal? Can you tell us? That is sort of the question. But in the good news, remember how a week ago we were like freaking out about Silicon Valley billionaires, not to be named, supporting Donald Trump and dangling that carrot on a stick, $45 million a month. And they sold JD Vance as a VP pick, which is really unfortunate for Trump. And he knows it and everybody knows it. And, although they denied, today, those news came through. More than 100 Silicon Valley investors pledged to support Kamala Harris. The group, including Democratic donors such as Reid Hoffman and Vinod Khosla, has been organized under an effort called VCs for Kamala. And we see Mark Cuban here. So happy to see that. Yes, altogether they have 250 billion, which let's say the owner of the platform X, what is this fly? I'm like Mike Pants today. Woo. Okay. Anyway, a bit of comedy. Anyway, yes, they have altogether less than the owner of the platform X, but who counts? Who counts? Because they will be actually putting the money where the mouth is and not, dangling that as a carrot on a stick. So another endorsement came through later today. UAW endorses Kamala Harris for president ahead of the mass rally in Detroit. So they said, quote, "Our job in this election is to defeat Donald Trump and elect Kamala Harris to build on her proven track record of delivering for the working class," said UAW President Shawn Fain. "We stand at a crossroads in this country. We can't put a billionaire back in office. We can put a billionaire back in office who stands against everything our union stands for, or we can elect Kamala Harris, who will stand shoulder to shoulder with us in our war on corporate greed. This campaign is bringing together people from all walks of life, building a movement that can defeat Donald Trump and at the ballot box. For our 1 million active and retired members, the choice is clear. We will elect Kamala Harris to be our next president this November. Also, what I would love to announce, we have no VP pick yet. No rumors have been proven true, no official statements, no unofficial statements. So let's not overthink this. But what has been announced is the schedule that Kamala Harris and her VP pick would have for the next week. So next week, they would be crisscrossing through the country together to campaign to the voters who will decide this election. And as a strong reminder, again, what they said today, Vice President Harris has made no decision on a running mate, but they will be going to Philadelphia, Western Wisconsin, Detroit, Raleigh, Savannah, Phoenix, and Las Vegas, and more to come. This is just next week, so it's even before the DNCs. DNC starts on the 19th, and that's the night where we're watching President Biden and honoring him. I'm going to talk about it all the time, all day, every day, up until then. For me, in my lifetime, that's the greatest president. It's very difficult to top, and I'm very upset and disappointed how all of that came to play, and he needs positivity. He needs gratitude. Hope we can deliver that. So, now let's talk about Trump. We have to get through it. Today, he joined the National Association of Black Journalists per their request and invite. So initially, President Biden was announced to speak there. And since he's not running, they then invited Kamala Harris. But also, at the same time, they invited Donald Trump for sort of the Q&A session. There were several reporters, political correspondents, including Fox News, and you will realize who. That's really depicts itself in the questions, and especially in evaluation, how it went down and how great it was, which it wasn't. But Kamala Harris, for now, she has not agreed to do any session with them, any Q&A. What is being discussed is for her to have some type of virtual conversation in September. So still a question mark, but they are discussing to have that as a session in September. So definitely not during that convention. So this is NABJ convention. And so, first, there was this question in the White House press conference as to will Kamala Harris join? I just shared the news with you, but here's Karine Jean-Pierre, of course, the Speaker of the White House, telling you pretty much the same.
In terms of medical records and physical, are we going to see?
Wrong. I don't have that video. Wait a second, let me see.
Going to Chicago for NABJ. We've seen you there before. He's no longer a candidate, and there's some back and forth between the Harris campaign and NABJ. But does the president have a message for those Black journalists there at the conference?
So April Ryan asked me a question about this yesterday. And look, when it comes to Black journalists, we want to make sure, and obviously in all Americans, including Black journalists, that we have an opportunity, and obviously talking to Black journalists is obviously talking to the community. And so it's important that we do interviews as we've normally done with Black-owned publications, and we have done that from the president to the vice president to myself to other senior members of his team, because we understand how important to have that kind of entry point into the community. And so that is something that we have been very proud of doing the past 3.5 years, and we will certainly continue to do that. As it relates to NABJ, that it was a campaign decision, so I would have to obviously refer you to the campaign. The president, as you know, is no longer a candidate, which is why he's not speaking this year. And so as it relates to the vice president as well, that is something for her office to speak to. But it is important for us to speak to, whether it's a radio host, a TV host, or a newspaper reporter. We do that on a regular, and it is something that we have been proud to do, because we believe.
So Bottom line is President Biden is not speaking there. Kamala Harris might be having any kind of conversation with them virtually in September. So back to Trump, how it all started. It had a rough beginning and rough ending and right middle. But I just want you to watch this for 2 minutes. This is exactly how it started. The first seconds of that interview. Pay attention to his attitude, pay attention to what he says and how he responds, and see whether he was provoked, which I think he wasn't. But that certainly will be his version of the affairs going forward. So let's take a look.
People did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working, or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you
I have
believe that
answered the
black voters should
question.
trust you with another 4
I have
years.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President
That's
Johnson,
my
who signed the
answer.
Voting Rights
And
Act?
for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a
So unless you are ready to kiss his butt, this is a disgrace, allegedly, right? So he starts in this way, and then he reaches out for the bottle of this journalist and ties it, like makes it tighter and puts it aside, knowing fully well that his bottles is on his right, which he uses then later to drink from. Just on a side note, itty bitty pity. Again, she simply stated the statement, and she wanted him to explain why he's, there. Also, NABJ invited him to be there, to be frank. Maybe they should be also explaining why they invited him and then let him elaborate further. But he was not provoked. He was racist, disgusting, and really unacceptable as somebody who is a former president, and specifically as somebody who wants to be the future president. And saying he did the most thing for black community. Are you kidding me? Yesterday, I showed you a compilation of him literally harassing and assaulting black journalists at the White House. So let's not, get all of this twisted. And then he went in this weird zone questioning the race of Kamala Harris. Jesus, take a look.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
Give me
a definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition of
Sir,
that.
I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a Black woman. She went to a historically Black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you
I
believe
think,
that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I
Republicans
really
have
don't know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be.
Could be. And also, honestly, I want you to believe that he did not know what DEI stands for, nor he listened the first time, and hence he asked the second time. This was not, him trying to make the reporter somehow uncomfortable. He literally did not know what it stands for. I can bet on it. And by the way, can you comment if you can hear me? Because I see some comments saying that the lost the sound. Please, somebody say if you can hear me so we continue, because all of it makes little sense if you can't hear me. Meanwhile, again, racist, unprovoked. Really, nobody asked for that. Mean, disgusting, and disrespectful. Okay? Completely disrespectful. What the actual? Exactly. What the freaking actual? I can hear you. Thank you so much. You can hear me. Awesome. Awesome. Can hear you. Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so let's continue this disgusting conversation. But this was brought up by reporters while sitting in the press conference at the White House, because they were, I guess, getting reports from that type of conference, and see them directing this question to Karine Jean-Pierre.
Asking this through the lens of someone who represents the president, vice president, not someone who has to speak as a campaign question. He says of Kamala Harris, the vice president, she was always of Indian heritage and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago, and she happened to turn Black, he said, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I didn't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
Wow.
She has always, this is unclear. I respect either one. But she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she went Black. Your response to those comments?
He is a candidate, so I'm going to be super careful.
Wait,
no, hold on. I have more to say. I certainly have more to say. As a person of color, as a Black woman who is in this position that is standing before you at this podium behind this lectern, what he just said, what you just read out to me, is repulsive, it's insulting, and no one has any right to tell someone who they are, how they identify. That is no one's right. It is someone's own decisions. I'll add this. Only she can speak to her experience. Only she can speak to what it's like. She's the only person that can do that. And I think it's insulting for anybody. It doesn't matter if it's a former leader, a former president. It is insulting. And we have to she is the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. We have to put some respect on her name, period.
Thank you.
Put some respect on it. Jesus. Now, it was that bad that even Fox News, the dude who told you yesterday that if you vote for a woman, you turn into a woman, that this guy was confused. Check it out.
As far as who's Kamala, most of us wouldn't have gone in there and gone, who is Kamala Harris? Is she Indian? Well, she's Jamaican too. Not something I would have done, but he went in there and he peeled back the curtain. And a lot of times, I think early in her career, she identified as South Asian. That might have been effective in California. Now she is considered an African-American woman. You don't hear about that. She's not African-American technically because she has a Jamaican dad. I don't really distinguish about that stuff. Maybe other people do distinguish about that stuff. Barack Obama was mixed race. He identified as black. Okay, a lot of people that I know who are mixed race, sometimes they identify differently depending on the situation. And that's great. That's fine. What does this do to Donald Trump with the black community? I have no idea how this is going to play with the black community, but I do know they're going to be talking about Donald Trump in this moment for days.
I don't know who you are. I don't know people who define either way, depending on how the wind blows. I know you are less than smart, and listening to you, the five, or whatever that thing is on Fox News, is insulting to our intelligence. But even you understood that this wasn't good for your doo-doo guy. I mean, what the heck is going on? And to your comment, why I don't have wine, I have coffee because I have to do this. And now you just informed me there's another rally to cover. Oh, God. Thank you. Love election season. Well, if we do the right choice, we won't have to do it. Now, I might show up to that press briefing with something more than wine if I have to cover Trump for 4 years. That's trust me on that, because that's just going to be God Jesus. Well, I voted for Hillary and I'm voting for Kamala. I guess that makes me a woman. Exactly. Yeah. What's your bra size? Less than smart. Exactly. Less than smart is pretty dumb. I mean, I don't want to insult anybody, but this is just insulting to our intelligence to go through this. It's like digging through a pile of garbage, trying to find something that it's still okay to consume. I mean, no. Okay, moving on. Trump was asked about J.D. Vance, and that choice was just simply unfortunate, to say the least. Listen to this.
Back to the campaign. Senator J.D. Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate, and do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing.
He's family oriented. He is wearing so much makeup that any woman that is a bit older than 21 years old would really freak out to wear, right? He's wearing stage makeup. So much eyeliner. That it's difficult for me to imagine his family values and imagine that he actually believes that. Also, if we talk about his family, his mother had the same issue as Hunter Biden, who's being prosecuted in court, outside the court, in the media, in the press, everywhere for years. And here we call it as, well, he had this type of path, and that's why he values family. Well, Hunter does too. Why don't we talk about Hunter valuing family? And anything that J.D. Vance has said about the couches, about the cats, about the dolphins is so disgusting that I can not even fathom to describe it in any other way. I'm just trying not to throw up. And thank you so much for your kind comments. I really appreciate it. I'm doing it for all of us, so thank you. I appreciate you. Okay, so he said that he values J.D. Vance, right? And J.D. Vance is a good addition. Now, in the next clip, he suddenly says that actually VPs don't even matter. Did you know that? Watch.
If he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented, historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think JD is. I think that all of them would have been, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
I thought it was like, if you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, then you'll suffer for 4 years. This really reminds me on what Putin said ahead of his fake election, where he said, actually, that was towards Ukraine. I have to translate in my head. You like it or not, you have to bear with it. Anyway, at least he didn't say that. So they don't want IVF, and they are against couples who don't want kids. Well, they in IVF, they see cells as humans. So hence they see them as humans and don't want to have anything frozen. And then they want people to have children so they have more voters. And certainly who will follow that advice is those who will vote for this kind of guy. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. If you can share it, not for me, but just for people to know real news exists, because it's so easy to think that this is the reality and Biden checked out and we have the goblin and it's like, oof, Jesus Christ. This would be a great clip. Indeed. Well, speaking of Vance, he made a joke yesterday. So you might have heard about him and the couches and love for the couches. Well, we all heard that and we understood that. And we certainly, it grew on us. He misunderstood that whole notion. So listen to his jokes yesterday.
Now, I would call her up here to come and speak that then Now, I would call her up here to come and speak that then I think I'd have to sleep on the couch tonight. So I'll leave her alone. But
he's talking about his wife. He's not going to call his wife because otherwise he has to sleep on the couch tonight or with the couch tonight. I mean, what's the difference? Okay, so next, Trump was asked to define black jobs. We have been waiting on that since that debate. So let's find out.
A lot of problems with it, but one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar.
Well, at least he pronounced Kamala right for a change. But a black job is any job that is owned by a black person. Also, who is pouring over the border? Who's taking the jobs away? He also did mention that illegals are voting. Mind you, fact check, only citizens of the United States are allowed to vote for president. So this is garbage. Yes, there are some states where you can vote for your mayor and like just regional elections. So you have a say, let's say, what affects the school system or something of that nature that is very local. Yes, in that regard, there's some cities, states, regions that allow that. Never happened for federal elections. So let's just not talk about it. He also mentioned there's 14 million people that poured over the border, which is absolutely not true. I will get you the exact number, but that is absolutely not true. Also calling jobs black, Mexican, Latino, white. What is he talking about? Why are we now segregating jobs? Or is it divide and conquer? Is that sad? So we, can find, or Fox News or whatever can find a way to start harassing people in a different way. Like, we're running out of ways to harass each other, so let's just do this nonsense. Um, so then he was asked, what is the main problem? He said inflation. And then he was rightfully so asked how um, would he fix it? How would he fix the inflation? Where he deflated, pun intended, and started talking about how pissed he was that Joe Biden stepped out, and now all the money he invested in the ads against Joe Biden, which I reported on last week and continuously so, how all this money is wasted. So, a pity party and absolutely no information. Take a look.
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls. And then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight, a prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing well. You say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy.
Honey, it's actually RNC's and GOP's fault not to replace you. Because yes, you are running and you're a weak candidate that will lose. As of today. Since this particular whatever you had on stage. Which is disgusting. It's disgraceful. It's disrespectful. There's no other words to describe it. And I'm trying. Trust me, I'm trying. So, a guy, Joe Biden, you might have heard it's the current president of the United States who's very accomplished. What are you talking about? Also, he's talking about energy. Let's talk about that a little bit. Because the MAGAville tries to convince you that the prices went up because of the energy. Now, he benefited of lower energy pricing during COVID because of demand and supply. If there's no demand, supply is there, right? So the price goes down, so people start buying it more, which did not happen during COVID. We didn't travel, we didn't get produce, we didn't get anything delivered. Just remember those times. Nobody was flying, nobody was traveling, everything was closed. So the energy prices went down, and so then they went up when we started using the energy. Now, his idea, and this is according to Pompeo, who is his mouthpiece, that he wants to press Saudis to lower the energy prices, and that's how he's gonna ultimately, combat inflation, which is really a big nonsense since Saudis are collaborating with China in terms of oil, so not really with us. So, what is your point here? Then also, Russia's invasion on Ukraine has caused the prices to go up because countries, entire regions, European Union, as much as US and our allies, started working on relying less on Russia or not relying at all. So yes, the world has changed. And that our inflation is actually going down, according to the numbers that I did report last week. All of it, that what he just said, is just complete BS. Another BS is he started talking about the cases that he won. Listen to it.
Do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent. I have another one where
Sir,
I have
if you
a
don't mind, I'd
hostile
love
judge.
to. We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different
No,
topics.
excuse
if
you.
we
You're the
can.
one that held me up for 35 minutes, just so you understand.
Exactly. And to your comment, that the journalists remained respectful despite the hate and distasteful content. As much as I appreciate every single time and every single day Karine Jean-Pierre, who's the press secretary of the White House, really kudos to her. I feel for her every single time. But again, I mean, she's dealing with what not many could be dealing with. As to the poly market and connection to Van saying word couch, no, Please comment what you mean by that, and I certainly will elaborate on that. Here. Yes, here. Um, so, okay, back to his cases. First of all, fact check: he didn't win any cases. He lost a case in New York, which. Since Supreme Court of the United States has granted him some type of immunity as a former president, he then appealed in New York not to be sentenced, and so his sentence is still pending, which obviously will happen after the DNC. So he has been found guilty to several, over 34 counts, guilty in New York by a jury of New York, based off unbiased New Yorkers. So that case he didn't win. Another case that he probably is referring to, where he was stealing the classified documents from the White House and then selling it, storing it at the Mar-a-Lago, and then I don't know where he sent the copies. That case was dismissed by the judge whom he appointed, and who wants to be appointed further, perhaps in the Supreme Court once he's elected. So let's not call that a win. Let's not call that a win. That is not a win. I mean, I'm a former athlete, but you don't have to be an athlete to realize a win from a usually win. Is usually a lie. Okay. So then he starts talking about cognitive test. And in this test, he also brings up a test that he would like, for some reason, Kamala Harris to take. Take a look.
I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her, too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr. President, are you saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
To be clear, you don't think Harris
would.
Okay, a fact. I Googled it just now. Kamala Harris was admitted to the bar in 1990 despite failing the California bar exam on her first try. She did, however, pass it the second time around. She's the vice president. She's an accomplished prosecutor, accomplished GA, like AG, attorney general, very accomplished woman. And also, let's pay attention who says that. A guy who went to MIT, sponsored by Daddy, I doubt he actually learned anything there, or at least, I don't know where it went, how it aired away since he graduated. Because if you speak to anybody with a degree from such institution, you would feel the level of intelligence and the level of, speaking articulation, vocabulary, which we really don't see it here. So I wonder what you have passed and what you have failed. Maybe we should dig into that. I will. Your comments. Cognitive test. I would love to see Trump, with a real doctor, not Ronnie Jack. Exactly. That case is on appeal to the 11th Circuit, exactly. And I read that the court has not been too friendly with that judge. Not going to say her name. Exactly. So that is referring to the case that he has in Georgia regarding the classified documents. So yes, it's been appealed again. So we're moving on. We're almost there, guys. We're just 2 more clips. So he wants Kamala Harris to take cognitive test. Please, can we do it live? I'll pay to watch it. Can we do it live with a real doctor, with a real test? I also would even love to see a lie detector test. Let's do that at the next debate. He likes reality shows. I think that's a great reality show. Would bring a lot of money with advertising. So then he was asked whether he would be stepping down in case he will just get pretty old, because in case he's elected, he would be ending his term at 82, which is certainly older than President Biden is not right now. So take a listen as to what he said.
You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82, which is older than Biden is right now.
But not mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He's shot. But most people.
Would you consider?
Most people. I know many people in their 80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history, the greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you?
Oh, absolutely.
And who would
I
make,
think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated
Oh my
me,
goodness.
and I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That was a nasty, that wasn't a question. She
Sir,
didn't
if you
ask
can
me a
answer the
question.
question.
She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I
Sir, if
repeated
you
your
can answer the
statement, sir,
question.
actually.
You said you would. You would
Oh,
make that
absolutely.
decision.
Thank you for staying with me. So X has a buffering issue. So every time I stream on X, it has a buffering issue. So when I'm showing you a bunch of clips, at some point X freezes and makes the entire system freeze. So I have to restart. So my apologies about that. Janetta says, "What the actual?" Yes, I saw that comment. Okay, so this was the pre-last clip of Trump talking whether he would be stepping down if he would be failing health-wise. And he said, well, you know, at 82, many people are so healthy and wonderful at 90, but certainly he would in case it would, well, blah, blah, blah. I don't think he is showing much of health or cognitive ability now at 78. So again, can we have that cognitive test? Can we have a medical report on that ear? FBI is not done investigating. I shared the reports. It's a bunch of nothing, to be honest. Let's call a thing a thing. They are investigating what the motives were by the guy and how he got the letter and didn't get the letter and if he flew his drone before this. Can we just have few questions answered? When it comes to the assassination attempt, first, medical reports. What was the injury? What treatment did he get? Second, what were the bullets that, unfortunately, may he rest in peace, killed the firefighter, Corey, and that injured two other rally attendees, bystanders, that are in critical condition? Can we also get an update on their condition? Because we're human and we care. And also, were those bullets the same bullets that the guy shot with the AR-15, or were they coming from something else and somewhere else? Can we have just these questions answered? And then we can care about the motives and what the guy Googled and what he didn't Google and whatnot. Can we have that? Because we have problems we don't see. What happened? So, lastly, as you know, Trump is advocating to release the insurrectionists that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. And here he debated why he would do that. He also announced that he would give federal immunity to all policemen and police officers so they can do their job. Then the reporters asked, well, how about the woman that was just killed brutally in her own home? And he said, well, I saw it. I didn't like it. There was some hot water involved. And so he kind of like deflated from that question, but said that police is suffering without having immunity. So listen to him advocating why the folks from January 6th have to be let out. That's the last clip from this whatever that was.
About the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in, go in, go in. What about that? Look, nothing is perfect in life, but you have people from Minneapolis, you have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C., they were having fist fights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying, they were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them. And you can't have two systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win our cases, and we're going to be vindicated. But I have to spend a lot of time on that and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before, and it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
What do you do on day one if you win? What's your first thing?
What do? I close the border.
You will close the border on day one. Also, can we talk about him complaining that he spends so much money on the lawyers whom he actually never pays? So I wonder. But here's just a fresh idea. If you wouldn't have committed crime and paid off porn stars for sleeping with them while your wife was pregnant with Barron, that money wouldn't have been needed for your court cases. Also, if you wouldn't have schmushled that porn star money into your official accounts of your company and your campaign, most importantly, then this case wouldn't have happened. So you are the reason why you're spending so much on courts and lawyers. This is not a political campaign against you. You've been a president once. If that would have been a campaign, you would have never gotten there into the White House. So you saw a lady named Harris, who was from Fox News, and she recently interviewed Trump. And so she was on that panel asking a few questions, several questions, and he only referred to her. Harris, Harris, Harris. He likes her. She's Fox News. She is kind to him. Now, you watched all those clips, and you have your opinion how it went down. And you've heard all the boos and how the audience didn't have it because he said, well, a lot of journalists here are black. No crap. It's the National Association of Black Journalists. What do you mean a lot of people are? What are you talking about? There's no appreciation, no respect, no understanding where the heck you are. No, just like no reading the room. I digress. This is how Lady Harris, Faulkner, described all of this on Fox News. Take a look.
What I loved about what you couldn't see today was how much of that audience was enjoying the moment of hearing from a candidate that they might not always agree with.
How they enjoyed it? The audience enjoyed hearing from the candidate they might not agree with? I don't enjoy it. I'm white as this wall, and I did not enjoy it. I thought it was disrespectful and hurtful and nauseating and disgusting. I don't know how you can say it. Jeez. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe that is my impression. But he also was on television, busy day for him, talking about how Kamala Harris will be disrespected by his friends, dictators. Take a look.
How would they consider a Harris presidency? Just in geopolitical.
I think they'll walk all over her. I think they'll look at her. I think they'll walk all over her. She'll be so easy for them. She'll be like a play toy. They look at her and they say, we can't believe we got so lucky. They're going to walk all over her. And I don't want to say as to why, but a lot of people understand it.
We understand that you're sexist and racist, and that is what you mean by the word why. Thank you. We came that far to get that. That's his reaction. The questions were rude and nasty, often in the form of a statement, but we crushed it. Well, that's a new definition for crushed it. You crushed it so well that I'm not sure you have a campaign left after this crash. You crashed it. You didn't crush it. You crashed it. You know, I'm not a native English speaker, but even I can correct your grammar. You crashed it. Okay, following statement from the Harris campaign. So Harris for President Communications Director Michael Tyler reacted to this appearance or performance of Donald Trump today. Quote, the hostility Donald Trump showed on stage today is the same hostility he has shown throughout his life, throughout his term in office, and throughout his campaign for president as he seeks to regain power and inflict his harmful Project 2025 agenda on the American people. Trump lobbed personal attacks and insults at black journalists the same way he did throughout his presidency, while he failed black families and left the entire country digging out of ditch he left us in. Donald Trump has already proven he cannot unite America, so he attempts to divide us, to my point. Today's performance is simply a taste of chaos and division that has been a hallmark of Trump's MAGA rallies and entire campaign. It also exactly what the American people will see from across the debate stage as Vice President Harris offers a vision of opportunity and freedom for all Americans. All Donald Trump needs to do is stop playing games and actually show up to the debate on September 10th. You know. And to the dictators allegedly walking all over Vice President Harris. Donald Trump, you might not follow the news, or Megaville, you might not get the news on Fox News, but Kamala Harris has been traveling to Ukraine and has been meeting with all the leaders at NATO and G7, and she has been communicating with all the leaders, including some dictators, such as Erdogan from Turkey and Orban from Hungary, and as well as Xi Jinping from China. And the North Korean guy, well, nobody meets him unless it's Trump, who considers him a friend. But she has been very outspoken and very effective in communicating with such dictators. And this administration in particular, also headlined by, of course, President Biden, who's very experienced in dealing with dictators for over 5 decades, is much respected. And all the NATO leaders, and I reported on that, have been expressing their gratitude for President Biden and this administration for leading the way as we're facing the Russia's brutal aggression on Ukraine and potential threats from China. So I bet you pardon. Okay, Olympics. A moment of unity. Speaking of North Korea. So you got to realize why. Table tennis players, the top 3 at the Olympics, were from China, South Korea, and North Korea. And then China won. I think North Korea was second, South Korea third, but correct me if I'm twisting this. And so at the medal podium, all 3 decided to take a picture together. Take a look. I just hope that the North Korean team, you don't hear me, but I hope, well, listen, I'm telepathy here. Get lost in Paris. We want to see you again. You know, if you share a DVD or a link to a South Korean series, you get knocked out. For this, we want to see you again. Apply for asylum, whatever you want to do. Get lost in Paris. They have baguette and croissant and whatever. They have it all. Stick there. We want to see you alive, please. Let's talk about England. So I have not highlighted that yet, and this is my fault. So if you recall, on July 29th, 2 days ago, in the city of Southport in England, as a result of an attack that killed 3 children in a dance studio during a class where they were learning moves of Taylor Swift. It was a Taylor Swift-inspired dance class. The attack was carried out by a 17-year-old teenager who is now in custody. And so those kids were just innocent victims to this incredibly brutal, violent attack. So the motives behind the attack remain unclear, but police said that the incident was not terrorism related. Now, following the killing of those kids in Southport, riots broke out in England. And those riots injured 39 police officers. And why I'm reporting on that? Because it has all the notion as to, divide and conquer, what the Harris campaign just spoke about, what we see Trump doing, what we see Russia do. And so several hundred men, allegedly British radical nationalists, began throwing stones, bottles, and other objects at a local mosque. And police officers who tried to stop them, they were assaulted, and 39 of them passed. And then they set fire to a police van and garbage cans. The Telegraph notes that the Russian state media were among those who falsely identified the murder suspect as a refugee who arrived in the UK by boat last year. Unconfirmed claims are also circulating, propaganda, on social media that the attacker shouted Allahu Akbar. So Merseyside County Police emphasized that the unrest arose because of incorrect information on social media about the possible involvement of Islamists in the attack. So this is the brutal version of divide and conquer. This is how it shows you how powerful social media is and how it is so easy to convince somebody to just go on a murder spree and start hurting innocent people. But take a look at what happened today following the murder on July 29th in Southport, England.
He's not giving a fuck. He's not putting a policeman's head. There's the fake news. We're fucking taking pictures of that.
So we certainly, of course, mourn the 3 children that passed, as well as the 39 police officers who were just doing their job. And the kids were just learning Taylor Swift moves. This is the power of social media and propaganda. So keep your head on a swivel. Whenever I say that, listen, there will be a new thing coming up where we're questioning Kamala Harris's records, medical records. Remember a few days ago when I got banned by 200 people, where I said, listen, there will be a thing, a notion, asking suddenly Biden to step down because then Harris will be the nominee or will finish this term as president, which would count as a term. And then she would need to appoint her VP, which has to be approved by Congress in both chambers, and cause all sorts of turbulence, which only would benefit the MAGA bill. I posted that, got banned for another 200 people, got blocked by them. When I'm hinting that some stuff is coming up, keep your head on a swivel. This is what propaganda is. And it's so easy to spread it on social media. It doesn't cost a thing. It doesn't cost a thing. So watch this video today at the White House press conference. I told you this will come. Here are the questions about where are the medical records of Kamala Harris. Take a look.
In terms of medical records and physical, are we going to see a little bit of sunlight on the vice president's health as we get closer to the election?
So I know there was a lot, we were getting some incoming on this, and I know there's a lot of interest. The vice president's office asked that you refer those, we refer those questions to her office, and so they will be gladly able to take those questions from all of you.
Why are we even discussing this? We haven't seen any reliable medical record of Donald Trump. We haven't seen any medical evaluation about what the heck happened at this assassination attempt, nor we have seen a cognitive test. Not a one. We should get Kamala Harris's. And then they say, well, you're not a reporter, you're not a correspondent, because you're not asking me in questions. Well, this question is irrelevant. She's 59 years old, unless you want to know what the heck her secret is for looking so young and sassy, honey. Well, then I understand why we need that medical report. But we should get hers right after we get one from Trump. Shall we agree on that? Seriously, what happened to real Georgia? I'm telling you, it's seriously. When I hinted on that last week, because I hear stuff, I'm there, I hear stuff. People blocked me for spreading rumors. It's not rumors. I'm just telling you, keep your head on a swivel. Be one step ahead. Through that horrific, thank you. This was all to Southport and the kids. Horrendous, heartbreaking. Absolutely. Yep. Really difficult to report on that too, to be honest. So we talked about Russia and misinformation. So as you may have heard, Georgia, the country, not Georgia, the state, Georgia, the country in Europe, has become a satellite. Well, first Russia invaded Georgia, took apart, and sort of seized that as their satellite state. Now they installed a pro-Georgian government, which is so-called the Dream Party. They have passed certain rules that correspond with the Russian regime. And so today, as a result, U.S. is pausing $95 million in assistance to the to government of Georgia, the country, not the state. The Georgian government's anti-democratic actions and false statements are incompatible with membership norms in the EU and NATO. While we are pausing our assistance to the government of Georgia due to those actions, the United States will continue assistance to programs and activities that benefit the people of Georgia by strengthening democracy, rule of law, independent media, and economic development. Over 32 years of friendship and partnership between our two countries and our citizens, United States have provided over $6.2 billion in assistance, contributing to the development and strengthening of Georgia's economy and democratic institutions. Our support has helped equip and train Georgia's defense forces and Coast Guard, but build schools and hospitals and train teachers, civil servants, and medical professionals. We will remain committed to the Georgian people and the Euro-Atlantic aspirations. This was stated by Secretary Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State. And now let's talk about Afghanistan. Why are we going to talk about it? Because Trump has been tweeting, and we got to fact check it. So check out this tweet. Russia never invaded Ukraine under Trump. Wrong. Russia invaded in 2014 under Obama, and then Trump pushed Zelensky to provide political dirt on Biden in return for aid. If there was no invasion, why you talked about aid? Iran never invaded Israel under Trump. That's not even. Nobody invaded anybody under Trump. Well, that's wrong. First of all, what did happen in Afghanistan, for instance? Well, he signed off on the whole procedure of leaving Afghanistan, and soldiers were hurt in the process. China never even thought of invading Taiwan under Trump. That's wrong. That has been going for years because China has seen and is seeing Taiwan as part of China. Just look at the maps provided by China online where they mark Taiwan as theirs. Biggest ever embarrassment in Afghanistan would have never happened under Trump. In fact, it did happen under Trump. There was no inflation under Trump. Well, inflation was higher than now under Trump. What a different world it would be under Trump. Well, there we need to agree. There I would agree. What a different world would be under Donald Trump. Now, to the fact-checking rescue comes somebody unexpectedly discussing the Afghanistan issue who directly worked with Donald Trump on exactly that issue. Take a look.
You know what made us less safe, Ambassador?
Right.
You know what made us less safe is when Biden pulled us out of Afghanistan, 13 Americans died, and now
that was Trump's deal.
And now
that
the Taliban tells us, back off, don't kill Al-Qaeda.
That's right.
Are you out of your mind, sir?
Same thing they would have done under Donald Trump. No.
Oh,
who cut the deal, Eric? Who cut the deal?
Who delivered the deal?
Donald
Biden
Trump cut the deal, didn't he?
No. Trump wanted
what would Trump have done? What would Trump have done had he been reelected?
Remember, sir? Let's be honest.
No, he did not. He absolutely did not. He did. Eric, you don't know what you're talking about. He wanted everybody out. He cut a deal to do exactly that.
Anyone that disagrees with you, we don't know what we're talking about. Trump said leave 2,500 there until we have a smooth transition of power.
Look, he said that after he cut the deal. The deal cut us down to zero. That's what Trump wanted. He wanted everybody out. The record on that is completely clear.
Over time, Biden pulled them out. Well, with Americans still there.
No,
Ambassador,
read the deal, Eric. Have you ever read the deal?
Oh, stop it.
Yeah,
Stop
I know you got to go before you're embarrassed even further.
I'm embarrassed.
National Security Advisor John Bolton under Trump. He knows. I bet he read the deal. So whenever they spread those rumors that, it's just Biden's fault, this was Trump's deal. He cut the deal to all the soldiers leaving within a certain period of time that caused this turbulence. Middle East. Let's talk about Middle East. So Iran says a top Hamas leader was killed. Last night, Ismail Haniyeh was killed in Tehran on the day that he was attending the inauguration ceremony of Iran's new president, according to a statement by Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. Ayatollah and supreme leader of the Islamic regime in Iran, Ali Khamenei, issues a threat against Israel as a response to that, what happened yesterday. They said, quote, "It's our duty to take revenge and severely punish the Zionist entity because the assassination was carried out in our land," end quote. Also to remind you what I reported on yesterday, that Turkish leader Erdogan said that they would be sending their troops to Lebanon in case Israel would start a war with Lebanon. So remains to be seen, remains to be reported on. As per White House, National Security Council sees a diplomatic solution there. Kamala Harris has addressed that on the tarmac once she landed in Texas, or where was she? In Atlanta, in Georgia yesterday. She said that diplomatic solution is possible. We should be pursuing that and not further escalating it. Certainly remains to be seen, remains to be reported on. Quickly about Venezuela, I see a comment. Let me check. The first time I've ever liked Bolton. Indeed. I was, looking for fact check, and I'm like, wow, okay, let's do that. And that is to the point where people say, well, you have to be unbiased. I'm not. I'm trying to be not biased, but if you see something that is evil, disgusting, racist, just sexist, and all of the above, I think it's my duty to call a thing a thing. And if you don't agree, don't watch it. Don't watch it, don't share it. But if you do, then share it and watch it. I mean, it's really up to you. Venezuela. So obviously we're dealing with the sort of fake manipulated election. I expressed yesterday, or explained day before yesterday as well as yesterday, the connection between Russia and Venezuela. In 2019, Maduro had problems, issues, staying in power. He now allegedly won with 51%, although all the exit polls show him losing with just 31%, losing to his counterpart Gonzalez. And so he declared himself a winner. Russia, China, all the dictatorships supported his win. Other countries, democracies have said, we are asking you to provide all the details, all the poll numbers, all the exit data to, for us to investigate and see whether he really won, right? Because everybody suspects that to be manipulated or simply to be a blatant lie that, the declaration that he has won. Since then, people really poured onto the streets and they started protesting. And a lot of people were hurt and killed. And so I want to read out for that. So now protesters are surging in the streets of this oil-rich nation, exasperated by a generation of leaders they can't get rid of. They're toppling statues of the man who founded the country's socialist movement. At least 16 people have died. This is as of this afternoon, including one soldier, and about 750 have been detained by security forces. Hundreds of people gathered on Tuesday in the capital, Caracas, to support the opposition. In some places, the authorities responded with tear gas. The day before, government-aligned gangs had responded with bullets. The dictator Maduro threatens President-elect Gonzalez. quote, "I hold you responsible, Mr. Gonzalez, for criminal violence, for the injured, for the deceased, for the destruction, and you will be directly responsible, and Mrs. Machado, justice will come," end quote. So I explained the connection with Russia. In 2019, when Maduro had issues staying in power, he reached out to Putin. Putin sent Wagner groups. This is those mercenaries that are killing people with hammers. They're violent. They're also active in Africa and in certain oil-rich countries, but also specifically in Ukraine, specifically in the beginning. As you may have heard, their leader passed, right? Allegedly in an airplane crash, which is not, I think is bogus, but this is just me. So Prigozhin, that's who I'm talking about, but they're still active and they're still financed. And so in 2019, in return, Maduro, president of Venezuela, has given the gold reserves to Russia. And so the headquarters of the gold reserve has been transferred to Moscow. So hence, this is the connection. Now, today, Wagner Group has again entered Venezuela under false pretense to be police. And so whatever we're reading here, police is doing to innocent civilians, that is on their behalf. Take a look.
Mira, la única estatua de Chávez que no han tumbado es esta. Y la van a tumbar de bola. Ya hoy menos, no jodas.
So if you would zoom in and really pay attention, the logos on their arms are from Wagner Group. The EU has an issue with Orban, right? The leader of Hungary, who vetoed EU's decision to not recognize Maduro as the elected winner in Venezuela. So for that reason, the High Representative to the EU Foreign Affairs had to issue a statement on his own. The EU urges, he says, the National Electoral Council of Venezuela to provide immediate access to the voting records of all polling stations until voting records are made public and are verified. The election results, as already declared, cannot be recognized. So again, those planted seeds by Russia, such as Orban, such as Erdogan, such as, they're all a part of one scheme, and not just divide and conquer, but provoke and stretch specifically United States resources all around Ukraine, Israel, Iran, so then China has a better way to deal with Taiwan since we're so stretched out. Just see it as a sort of a global, from that global angle and perspective. In other news, today in Guantanamo, the 9/11 attackers have pled guilty. The convening authority for military commissions, Susan Escalier, has entered into pretrial agreements with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and Walid Mohammed Salih Mubarak bin Attash and Mustafa Ahmed Adam al-Hafsavi, three of the co-accused in the 9/11 case. The specific terms and conditions of the pretrial agreements are not available to the public at this time. The three accused were initially charged jointly and arraigned on June 5th, 2008, and then were again charged jointly and arraigned. And second time on May 5th, 2012, in connection with their alleged roles in September 11, 2001 attacks against the United States. So certainly will bring closure to some people. It's a devastating loss. It's again violent. It's disgusting. It's humiliating. It's just all of it. But certainly they took their time to plead guilty. And I'm that with this fly on my pants today. Okay. So let's end on a better note, shall we? Because we need to. I found a video. There's a guy on Instagram that asks couples. I think it's called Cute Loves NYC or something. Cuties NYC, where he meets couples and he asks how they met. And so they talk about their first date and how they got together. So I have a very cute couple for you today that you might enjoy. You might know them. It's, of course, the First Lady and our President Biden, where they share some details on how they met. So I want you to enjoy this 1.5 minutes.
Would you mind telling us the story of how you first met?
I was set up on a blind date by my younger brother. He called me from school and he said, I go to school with this woman. You'll love her. She's beautiful and she doesn't like politics.
So he called me on a Saturday afternoon and he said, this is Joe Biden. And I said, how'd you get my number? And he said, would you like to go out tonight? And I said, I'm sorry, I already have a date. And he said, well, would you break it? I'm only in for one night. So I said, well, call me back in 2 hours and I'll see what I can do.
And she broke the date and didn't break my heart. When I met her, after the second date, I knew I wanted to marry her.
Well, for me, it took a little bit longer. He asked me 5 times. And finally, the last time, he said, this is it. This is the final time. And
this after 2 years. Asked her 5 times to marry me.
You have to remember, I mean, it wasn't just my heart that was on the line. With Beau and Hunter, I knew that if we were going to get married, it had to work. It had to be forever because they had already lost their mother and their sister in a car accident. And I knew that they couldn't lose someone else in their life. So here we are. It is forever. It's 48 years later.
And what are your names?
My name's Joe. I'm Jill's husband.
I'm Jill Biden.
Excuse me, sorry.
What are your names? That's the best part. Well, you always ask that at the end, so he didn't deviate here. So let's honor those people who are human and decent and full of wisdom and experience and kindness and love. For God's sake, almost cursed again. Jill's reasoning for not saying yes the 4th time says a lot about who she is. Exactly. And for him to stick through says a lot about who he is. So, absolutely, I agree. So, for that reason, President Biden, as I mentioned in the beginning, is addressing the DNC. He has the first night, the opening night, he will deliver a speech. It's a tribute night. I'm organizing a watch party. Let's watch this together. Let's also have a warm-up party an hour before. So he's speaking on August 19th. Time is TBA because we simply don't know it from the DNC yet, but it will be an hour before he speaks. I will keep you updated. There will be a warm-up party with quizzes about Joe Biden, and we'll feature several tributes prior to his speech from people who you know, and also you. So let's watch it together. If you wish to record a short, maximum 30-second tribute for us to feature, please upload your video together with the form. The form, if you're watching on X, is right below the video, this live stream. The first comment from me is the link to RSVP. Again, there's no money involved. It's not a fundraising event. There will be no cost associated. It's produced by me. We're not doing anything with your email. We're just asking for email to get the link because it will be just per invite. We're not streaming it worldwide. It's for us to have a beautiful night together with like-minded people, to enjoy time together, to enjoy his address, to cry a little, to smile a little, and have a good time together. So I would love to watch it together with you. Please RSVP using that link. I will also share it in tonight's email. And if you subscribe, you certainly will get it. It's free. Onest.substack.com. It will be there. It will be in every single email up until August 19th. So bear with me. And if you're watching on YouTube, I will share the link there as well. And please subscribe to Substack. Substack, it's free. So you get all the information there. Would love to watch it with you. We will also have something special, very special for Kamala Harris nomination on the last day of DNC, which I will announce very soon, which will be sassy and pretty cool. But here it's all about just honoring the good man who did so much for this country. And by the way, I will share the details and I will share the final recording of all of us with the White House to make sure it will be forwarded to the First Lady and our president, because he deserves this love and kindness. It's not right what happened. It's not right, not just what happened, but the way it happened. it still stings. So let's do our part. And I would absolutely love to do that. Thanks for the info. Yes, thank you. Yes. So please RSVP, the more the merrier, because the more we grow in numbers, maybe we get somebody from the administration, maybe we get somebody from the Biden family to join us or at least appear during our watch party. So all of that is on the table. It just let's spread the news, spread the link. Let's RSVP and plan to spend this night together. I know it's Monday, but that will be, of course, instead of our live stream, but we'll have a party together and then we watch the speech. So this is from me for now. And here, I love this post. It was shared today. By the way, President says the name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all. And the VP says Donald Trump wants to take our country backwards, but we believe in a brighter future that makes room for all Americans. Was just shared, so I wanted to share it together with you. What is this? Okay, that was about Hungary. I talked about it already. And by the way, if you are watching not on X, if you don't follow me on X or Twitter, if you hate that platform, I hear so much from you as well. I don't share much of that on Instagram and TikTok or whatever. Why? Because the algorithms there are designed to show you videos later. You're not seeing right away what I post as opposed to Twitter and X. So it really appears later, and it's always in the format of video, which is kind of weird because I put actual news. I don't want to have my face every time for actual news. So what you can do is Onest Network, the website, has all the immediate updates as well. So if you go here, you won't miss on the actual news. So all the news are posted there. There are articles. There's everything that Joe Biden does, that Kamala Harris does, and everybody else in the administration and around the world. So honestnetwork.com. If you are not on Twitter, that's your best, chance to get the information. I would appreciate you subscribing to Substack. It's free. You get all the stuff in your email by the end of the night. Watch it before you go to bed or in the morning. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. We're going to see each other tomorrow around 8 p.m. again for another load of actual news. And I hope we survived it really well. I know we did with all the Trump information today, which was the majority of the content. But it is what it is. And you just told me there's another rally, so I go check it out. Okay, thank you so much. See you tomorrow.